Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Cryptosphere. This is Cryptogenic coming at you. Decided to go live. It's been a while. Some of you know I had some health issues, was hospitalized for a couple weeks. Well, I was hospitalized for 5 days, but I've been home the last nearly 3 weeks now, recuperating. Strength is returning slowly. I have a condition called vestibular neuritis, and I've had 4 episodes of it so far, hopefully no more. Discerning life changes that need to happen in order to decrease the likelihood of a new episode. But basically, there's 3 major symptoms. One is complete loss of physical strength. I collapsed onto the floor and couldn't get up. The second is extreme vertigo-like symptoms where more than spinning, it felt like I was falling out of a plane. What's up, R. Williams? And then the third was severe nausea. So, home, strength is returning slowly. I tried to go to the driving range on Tuesday, and I hit about 15 balls, resting for 5 minutes after every 3. And I was exhausted the rest of the week. So, just laying low, taking it easy. But I wanted to jump in here because it's a critical time in the crypto market right now. And I wanted to kind of give you guys an idea of what I'm seeing here. And I'm going to start with Bitcoin. Let's see. The chosen one. Thank you. I appreciate that a lot. Yes, I am making progress and hope to make a full recovery soon. Start with this weekly chart. First thing I notice on this weekly chart is that we've broken above this line of resistance that goes all the way back to November 2021. So we've been beneath this line of resistance since 2021, which means the downtrend is broken. So this is a change of character and a break of structure. However, it didn't come out of the blue. I mean, you can see we started an uptrend here and here. But the breakout is official on this weekly candle. So this week, we've seen a breakout of this. And some of the telltale signs is you see how we were hugging this line of resistance going back to April, early April. So since early April, we've hugged this line of resistance. And so whenever you hug a line like that for a while, it's just raring for a breakout. It's raring for a breakout. However, I see strong resistance in this area here. You can see how it was support here, it was support here, it was resistance here. And I think we're going to get hung up here. We're going to get some resistance. Personally, I don't think we're going to break above 33,000. Somewhere in this neighborhood here, I see us hitting resistance and then retracing. And the question is, will this line hold? That's the real question. So I want to look at my 3-day chart. And my 3-day chart kind of tells a more complete story. Number one, I don't think the uptrend's over because I think on the 3-day chart, the RSI wants to come test this line. So there's still a ways that we could go, and it might take a week or 2, maybe less, who knows. But as you can see, we're making somewhat of a logarithmic regression here where we're getting, notice the uptrend was steep and it's becoming less and less steep. And this is where I think we're going to hit resistance here in the middle of this, somewhere in this resistance area here. And but once we top out on the 3-day chart, the RSI tops out, it's going to have to, the downtrend is going to have to most likely be substantial. We're seeing the same thing going back to the weekly chart where the RSI wants to test this line again. So there's still a little bit of a ways that we can go up on the weekly chart before we hit this line of resistance. Now, of course, we can break above that line of resistance, and if so, then we have, we're going to test one of these higher highs. The next level is here around 46,000. So, of course, it's always possible that we break above this and test this, but at a certain point, we top out on the weekly chart. But you see these two red lines, this red line and this red line? This indicates hidden bearish divergence. Now, hidden bearish divergence is a continuation pattern, whereas classic bearish divergence is a reversal pattern. So if you're in a downtrend and you see hidden bearish divergence, it is an indication that the downtrend will continue. So it is significant to see hidden bearish divergence on the weekly chart. It indicates the likelihood that the downtrend will continue. Secondly, if we zoom in a little bit, we've got local classic bearish divergence. Look at this. We made a higher high here, and the corresponding high in the RSI is lower. So we've got localized classic bearish divergence, and then we've got more of a macro hidden bearish divergence. So on the weekly chart, we have two bearish data points that says this breakout's days are numbered. And so those two data points support the thesis that we're going to hit resistance in this resistance area here, and then we're going to break down. Now, if we want to chart the breakdown, this is interesting, right? If I chart the depth of this wedge, that breakdown, well, actually, I'm going to have to redo this because we're already breaking above this. So this 30,000 mark, when we were over here, that was my target. My target was 30,000, and then I called a retracement back. I thought we would touch this line here at 24,197. So back in April, when we hit this target, I started calling for 24,000. We didn't make it all the way down there, but we did make it below 25,000. So I said in my previous videos that that would be the decision point, that we would either break down from there, and if we broke down from there, my target was going to be 16,500. We did not break down there. We actually bounced, and we actually broke above this line. So I'm going to change this line to a dotted line because it is not current. At current, what we're looking at actually is this line. And then when this tops out, we'll be able to see kind of, I don't think this line, I don't think we're touching the top of this line again, honestly. I think probably this regression band is the more real. So I expect us to test this regression band and then break down. The question is, will this line hold? That's the question. So I think we're going to come up here and then come and retest this line. And when we break down from there, maybe 28,000, so basically heading towards 33,000 and then breaking down to 28,000. And once again, that will be a decision point. That will be a decision point. Chosen One says, do you believe 2023 is the start of the bull market? There's a lot of pessimism, which makes me think it's possible. You know, I'm starting to think that there's a strong possibility that this was indeed the bottom. It doesn't make any sense to me, honestly. But once again, that's how the crypto market works. It's almost like at an hour that you don't expect. And so, you know, I have been chomping at the bit to short this market. I really want to short it. But I've been holding off simply because I see the potential for Bitcoin to pump into this area here. And I want to wait till we get into this area, and then I'm going to be looking at shorts. I'm looking at shorts on the Omisego. I mean, look, did you see Omisego pumped like 70+%? I'm looking at ADA. Can't wait to short Cardano. When Bitcoin tops out, I'm going to short the crap out of Cardano because I think that's going to be a lucrative one. I'll probably short Solana as well. Sorry. I do technical analysis for a corporate client now on soybean oil futures, so this is fun. So that's what I'm looking at. Now, if I go to the daily chart here, here's what's significant to me about the daily chart is that we're topping out. We're already in the overbought position. So yes, we broke above the trend just as we broke above the trend here, but we're already in the overbought position. Notice that the RSI on the daily chart topped out on January 13th, and we've been making lower highs and higher highs the whole time. So this downtrend here, the daily chart was screaming it since January, telegraphing that the downtrend is coming. So this is kind of the basis upon which I started calling for 30,000 being the top of this move, simply because, once again, the RSI topped out on the 3-day chart on January 19th and started making lower highs, while the market was making higher highs. So we saw classic bearish divergence on the chart, and that classic bearish divergence was screaming that the days of this uptrend were numbered. So going back to the daily chart, now we see the daily chart is overbought. There's still some room to go up on the 3-day chart, and as we discussed, there's still some room to go up on the weekly chart as well, which tells me I think we're going to get one more pump here on the daily chart. But notice what happens when the daily chart finally tops out. You know, you might get some bearish divergence. But when the daily chart, I'm going to be looking for bearish divergence on the daily chart to confirm that we've topped out. So what will probably happen is the daily chart will top out again, maybe somewhere up here again. Then it'll start making lower highs, but the market may not be at the top yet. We may still be moving up on the weekly chart or the 3-day chart. And so I'm going to be watching what happens in the RSI on the daily chart, and that will be a sign unto me that, okay, this market's topping out. We're seeing bearish divergence on the daily chart. It's time to start setting our shorts. And, you know, it's not going to be humongous shorts because I'm not necessarily convinced that the market's going to crash. I don't even know what this is. But look at what's happened on the 4-hour chart. We're already getting classic bearish divergence on the 4-hour. The breakdown has happened. The 4-hour chart topped out 3 days ago on the 21st. But we still got a higher high here on the 4-hour, and it's breaking down. And also, oftentimes what happens when you see the RSI start to break down, it doesn't mean that the breakdown here has to happen now. It simply means sometimes the RSI is going to recover, maybe make its way down to the midway, and then pump again. So this is where we start getting these consolidation patterns. Notice how aggressively the RSI is moving down, but the price is moving sideways. So this is simply the bear stepping out of the way. The bull stepping out of the way momentarily and just letting the momentum make its way down while, you know, the bulls do their work. But basically, this is replenishing the supply. As the RSI makes its way down, it's simply replenishing the supply in preparation for another pump. So what you look for when you're looking at the RSI is how aggressively the RSI moves compared to the price action. You got sideways price action and aggressive bearish RSI. It's preparing for another pump. And sure enough, we got this little move up on the RSI, but it was enough to push us to a higher high in the price. And now the price is kind of moving down, but it looks more like a bear pennant. I'm sorry, a bull pennant than a bearish pattern. So this is a bull pennant, looks like, which means the RSI is preparing for another pump. And we see that we can go to the 1 hour chart. Let's see what the 1 hour chart is showing us. Yeah, see, so the 1 hour chart is almost basically close to having refreshed itself. I mean, you notice it topped out over here on the 21st as well. And then boom, we had these, aggressively lower, but once again, we're moving sideways. We get this little pump, which was a lower high, and now it's moving lower. So I think we've got at least one more pump in us here. I say that to say, seeing this kind of bearishness in the RSI, if the bearishness in the RSI, so not exactly, chosen one. Do you DCA out of the market past the 70 RSI? This goes for any asset. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. It just depends. And then it depends on which chart. So really, my bread and butter is the daily chart, the RSI on the daily chart. If you're not using leverage, an easy way to trade with no leverage is when the RSI tops out, when the RSI looks like it's in the overbought position, you just start setting shorts. If it breaks higher, you add to your short. Breaks higher, you add to your short. And then soon the RSI comes all the way back down to the bottom. And when it breaks beneath 30, you start buying. And if it breaks lower, you buy more. And if it breaks lower, you buy more. If you short above 70 and buy beneath 30, you'll make money. You'll make money. But once again, you get wrecked if you're using leverage because you can get bearish divergence. The fact that we're topping out here on the daily chart does not mean this move up is over. And so because I use leverage, I'm waiting. I'm not shorting yet. I'm waiting. I'm waiting for us to get into this region. Really, where is it? I'm waiting for us to get well into this resistance zone, and then I will reevaluate where the RSI is in conjunction and determine what my short levels will be, because there's going to have to be a pullback. Going to have to be a pullback. Yeah, R. Williams, there are a lot of charts that look good long term. Number one, I'm not buying anything until we get this pullback, because the pullback, when it does come, it's going to be a multi-day pullback. I mean, the RSI here on the daily chart is overbought. So I never buy anything when the RSI is overbought on a daily chart. I just don't do it. I don't set long positions and I don't buy. Simply because when it's overbought, that means that the supply is being extinguished. And so to create more demand, there has to be a sell-off. There's too much selling pressure up in this region here. And so what I'll do is I'll wait for this to bottom out and see how far that goes. And there's different possibilities for how far that will go. I mean, it could be a complete crash. We could suddenly crash all the way down to 16,000. Who knows? We could make a lower low. I think that would be the healthiest for the market. I mean, if we did crash all the way down here, I believe there would be so much money waiting down there and so much market confidence. But the fact that we didn't break beneath here at 24,000 is actually a really good sign to me. It tells me that there's solid support, at least for now, at this level. And so it's less likely now that we get a flush all the way down to 16, but it's not impossible. I mean, if we chart the depth of this, 31%, let's say we break down here, well, that takes us down to 22,000. If we break down here, that takes us down to 20,000, 19,000. So it's not impossible. You know, we could, as a matter of fact, this is irrelevant now because we didn't get that breakdown. So it's not impossible that we get a flush. Of course, nothing's impossible. It's just not highly probable at this point. So once again, I'm watching the RSI on the way up. And then once we start the downtrend, I'll be watching the RSI on the way down. And I'll start making decisions for setting long positions. But the key is, once this downtrend is over, however far it goes, whenever this downtrend takes place, I think that will be a secondary opportunity of a lifetime to set long positions. I mean, the primary opportunity of a lifetime was here. And unless we flush all the way back down to that area, wherever we break down to, so okay. However, what I actually expect to see, and I think is likely, if the RSI gets rejected here on the weekly chart, the RSI will just come back to the middle. I don't think the RSI is going to bottom out again. And if we get a flush, the RSI is going to bottom out again. But I doubt if we don't get that flush, the RSI will come down to the middle and then break above this line. And that's where the real bull run happens. And so when you see the RSI top out on the weekly chart on Bitcoin, that's the move up. I mean, take a look. Boom. We get way up there. And notice that the momentum that we generated in this move here took us all the way to here. We got bearish divergence in the RSI, but there was all kinds of momentum in that move. So if we get another one of those here, it can move us, shoot, to test $100,000 or break it. So that's when that boomerang effect will happen in the altcoin market. Does that make sense? All right, folks, I need to go lay down now. That's all I could do today. It's the best I could do for you. Wish I could do more, but we'll have to save it for a later date, a later time. Thanks so much for watching. Do me a favor and hit that like button. Subscribe to this channel. Also, do me a favor and leave a comment next to this video. Let me know what you think. Once again, this is not financial advice. It's my opinions only, my perspectives only. But all of my resources are designed to empower you to sleep in peace every night, wake in joy every morning, and walk in love every day. With that being said, this is Cryptogenic signing out.